video that's quite a bit different than the typical videos that I usually make. It's actually going to be maybe somewhat of a nothing fancy style video. I hate to say that. I hate to do that, actually, but I have some things I want to say, and I'm the type of person I really need to get things out. I really need to get things like off my chest. The way that I usually do that is I usually write about a situation that I have strong feelings towards, or something that's always bothered me, and I'll put it in a public forum. Like I'll put it on Facebook. Sometimes, I won't even, really like post it. It'll be there. It'll be public, but I won't publish it to where it comes up on a news feed. Somebody has to be looking for it. Um, and even though like maybe nobody reads these things, um, it makes me feel like I at least got it out there. So maybe somebody read them, and maybe nobody read them. I don't know, but either way, it it makes me feel like it's off my chest. Um, this situation is a little different. This isn't really something I want to write about. I have a lot of feelings about it. More than I'm going to be able to get to today. Um, as you may guess by the photo in front of you, what am I talking about? I'm talking about gun control, firearms, the hot topic lately, right? Um, you know, I don't want to write about it because it's kind of such a long subject. I'd be writing for days. I think I'm not even gonna get to anything, but maybe I can make separate part videos. And don't get me wrong, I don't have any false ideas about this. I know that nobody's gonna watch this video. Okay, I don't have an audience like like a Nothing Fancy or like a Hickok, and I'm fine with that. I just want to get it out there. I just want to say it and be done with it and have said my piece. And actually, I don't think I'm going to be saying anything that's like profound. I don't think I'm going to be saying anything that's different than what anybody else has said. I think I'm going to make a lot of the same points. It's going to be redundant. It's going to be a boring video, but I'm going to feel better about it. I'll probably get about one view, maybe from a friend of mine. And to tell you the truth, the person I was thinking of probably won't even watch the whole video because it's going to be boring. You might hear my kids in the background watching Ninja Turtles. Maybe. Maybe you won't. And unfortunately, you're pretty much going to be staring at the same image the entire video, which is one of my favorite firearms, Remington 870, propped up with a Glock. How about that? I'm using a gun to prop the gun up. I thought the Remington was a perfect example to have on display, because what I want to talk about is New York primarily. There's a lot of gun issues right now going on. There's a lot of problems with the gun world. But I'm a New Yorker. I lived in New York my entire life, except for a very short time when I was a kid, like a maybe 4-month span, and the past year. I haven't lived in New York for the past year. Before that, I lived in New York my entire life, Buffalo, New York. And so when I heard about the new gun laws, they really kind of hit home with me. I have a lot of friends that they will affect. And the shame of it is that it has absolutely nothing to do with keeping anybody safe, as we all know. Anybody who knows anything about guns knows that this has nothing to do with keeping anybody safe. And it has everything to do with politics. Maybe it has to do with disarming people. It definitely has to do with politics. Um, and it's stupid. So I thought the Remington was the perfect choice, as Remington is a New York company. They have their factory in, I believe it's called Ilion. I could be saying that wrong. I'm from New York, but I'm not familiar with that town. Ilion, New York. Um, Remington. How American is Remington? And Remington has to deal with this gun control. So let me just dive right in there. And let me start off by saying, why did New York impose new gun laws? Why did they feel like after Sandy Hook they needed to impose new gun laws? Sandy Hook is not in New York. Other mass shootings have not happened in New York. Why the ban? Why the need to ban guns in New York? To restrict magazine capacities, restrict certain features of certain guns that somebody came up with. The idea that certain features makes them assault weapons and other features doesn't make them assault weapons. Isn't an assault weapon anything that you assault somebody with? If I try to run a police officer over with my car or a regular person or whatever, don't they charge you with assault with a deadly weapon? Assault with a deadly weapon. My car became an assault weapon, didn't it? If I beat somebody with a hammer, isn't that assault with a deadly weapon? I have an assault weapon as a hammer. So how can one gun be an assault weapon and another gun not be an assault weapon? Especially when sometimes you're talking about the same model of gun, with the only difference being, a buttstock, a collapsible buttstock, or a pistol grip, a vertical forend. How do these features make one thing an assault weapon and one thing not an assault weapon? But I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Why did they make these bans? They already have an assault weapons ban in New York. Why did they need a new one? Sandy Hook is not in New York. New Yorkers didn't commit this crime. New York gun laws weren't the problem in this crime. It wasn't New York's fault that this happened. Why did New Yorkers have to pay as a result? Why does Andrew Cuomo want to punish people? All right. Well, the only thing there's two reasons I can think of. Somebody said to me, Andrew Cuomo is running for president already. That's one. It's political. Okay. He's trying to, set himself up so he can get to the presidency and say, hey, look what I did in New York. I banned guns. I tightened down on gun control. That's going to win a lot of people over. There's a lot of shooters in this country. There's millions of shooters. There's millions of gun owners in this country. And I was watching a Hickok 45 video where he was talking about that, and he's absolutely right. We're not a small group. We're not a small group of people like a lot of people think. People don't, usually come right out and tell you that they own a gun. They don't tell you that they're carrying a gun. They don't, you don't see people shooting. He was very correct when Hickok described it as a hidden sport. It really is. Exactly that. And because you don't see it. You don't drive down the street and see people shooting in a park, because, obviously you couldn't do that. So people don't really think of it, but there are millions of shooters in this country. Okay. But still, there are millions of people who don't think that we should have guns. You've heard it before. There are people that they want to, I think some of them genuinely have, bad intentions. And I think some of them really think that it would help. If my son was gunned down in the street to gang violence, it would be really easy to say, hey, if that gang, if they didn't have guns, my son would still be alive. It would be really easy to say that. It's not true. If people want to hurt each other, they're going to hurt each other. If they didn't have a gun to do it, maybe they would blow each other up. Maybe they'd blow them up when they were going to a store or in a house, and then the neighbors get killed, or they blow up a church and everybody in there gets killed just for one target. That's just the way it is. People are going to find a way to hurt each other if they want to. The other thing is that Andrew Cuomo did. He stole 3 more rounds from us. He stole 3 more rounds from New Yorkers. And I don't know anything. I don't know Andrew Cuomo personally. I don't know if his motives were political or if he has some kind of conspiracy type evil agenda, to turn us into slaves, like a lot of people say. I kind of laughed, but really, I don't know. There's evil people in the world. There always has been, and that's possible. I don't think so. I think it was probably more political, but it's possible. I mean, they make you wonder, don't they, when they keep imposing these laws on the good guys, and they don't do anything to punish the bad guys. They make you wonder. They stole 3 more rounds from us, from your magazine. They already had a ban. They already had a magazine capacity limit of 10 rounds. In 1994, that was supposed to be good enough. Now in 2013, 10 rounds is enough. We got to take 3 more. Well, 10 rounds wasn't safe. So, 7 rounds will be safe. Andrew Cuomo said, no one needs 10 rounds to kill a deer. Didn't you know in 1994 that you didn't need 10 rounds to kill a deer? That, 20 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, there'll be 3 more, 4 more mass shootings in a small amount of time, and they'll take 3 or 4 more rounds. No one needs 7 rounds to kill a deer. You don't need 7 rounds to kill a deer. You don't even need 7 rounds to defend yourself. Burglars come to your house. 3 rounds should be enough. 4 rounds should be enough. You don't need 7 rounds, 8 plus 1 in the gun, 8 rounds to defend yourself. You don't need that, right? So after they have the next massacre, that'll happen in Colorado or something. 4, 5, 6 years from now, after the situation cools down, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I don't know how long it'll be. They'll take 3, 4 more rounds from you because you don't need it, right? They're telling us what we need. It's supposed to be a government for the people, but they're trying to control us. Isn't that kind of weird? Makes you wonder, It really does. So, what happens when, we're down to 3, 4 bullets, all we can have is like 3-round magazine and 1 in the chamber, and shootings are still happening. What happens then? Is it then that we don't need guns at all? I mean, it's a progressive thing. A lot of people say, well, it's not a progressive thing. It's just, they just wanted to, you don't, they're right. You don't need 10 rounds. 7 rounds is the thing. We're not trying to pick at it little by little until you don't have anything left. That's not the goal. You can't say that because that is the goal. That is what they're doing already. You already said, well, 10 rounds should cut down the crime, and that should be good. And then, 20 years later, you say, or, not, yeah, almost 20 years later, yeah, that's right. You say, oh, wait, we were wrong. 7 rounds, that'll work, I've heard it a bunch of times before. There's no magic number. 3 rounds doesn't make you safe. 7 rounds doesn't make you safe. There's people who competition shoot with 6-shooters that shoot these guns and reload them, faster than I could shoot a semi-automatic, and they hit the target every time. I mean, these people could do damage with a 6-shooter, and there's nothing. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna stop that? I mean, we used to fight wars with bolt-action rifles. We used to fight wars with muskets, and have very devastating results. If the will is there to do bad, it'll happen. You can't stop that. The magazine size has nothing to do with the crime. Maybe if he stops to reload, that'll give us a chance to shoot him. If we have 3-round magazines, he'll have to reload a lot. That'll give us a lot of chances. He can just carry 4 guns on him. That doesn't do anything. You can get really efficient at magazine changes. There's people out there that can change magazines in like the blink of an eye almost. You don't believe me? I mean, look it up. There is no magic number. They don't want you to have any bullets. They don't want you to have any gun, and they take it little by little because if you take, if you say, if we have 10 round magazines now in New York, and they say we're cutting it right down to 3 rounds, hardly anybody would agree with that. They would throw a fit. So they just take it a little bit and say, we're gonna cut you down by 3 rounds. Now it's gonna be 7 rounds. That's the most you can have. And people say, well, yeah, 7 should be enough, And then maybe next time they'll take 2 more. All you need is 5 round. We're gonna go with 5 round magazines. That should be good enough. And then people, because now you've been used to having 7 round magazines for, years now. They'll say, yeah, okay, like, well, 5, that might be alright. And then it'd be like, well, if you have 5 round magazine though, that really puts 6 in the gun. Let's take 1 more. I mean, it's just little by little. They're already doing it. It's obvious that they're already doing it. You can't deny it. You know, right now they're not including like lever actions, pump guns, and even I don't think they're even including tube-fed 22s. But that's just next. How is a tube-fed 22 that can hold, like if you're like maybe 18 rounds of 22 short or 22 long? How is that less dangerous than a 22 with a detachable 22 round magazine? How is that any less dangerous? It's not, and they know that. They're just taking it little by little. They're going to take the scariest looking one first because the public's going to agree with that. And then when those are gone, they take the next scariest looking one because the public will agree with that, and so on and so forth. Why are they having us register the guns? One of the things that they pushed on us along with this magazine restriction is gun registration in New York for anything that qualifies as an assault rifle, which includes different target rifles. They added thumbhole stocks as a feature of a assault rifle. A thumbhole stock is not a feature of an assault rifle. That's a feature most often of a target rifle. But whatever. Why do they want us to register? They want to know the address where the gun is and who has it, so that when they decide that we don't need those types of guns anymore, they can come and take them. They know exactly who has them, and they know exactly where to find them. They know who has them, so that even if they go to the place where you told them the gun was and the gun isn't there, now they're going to question you. Maybe they'll even torture it out of you. That sounds ridiculous, maybe, but they can turn this into an issue of national safety. You got an assault weapon that's not, that they need to confiscate. They can easily call you a terrorist. It's not a big stretch. Well, this guy's got, he's got assault weapons. He's hiding them. They're illegal now. He's a terrorist. So in that case, maybe like some torture techniques, waterboarding is okay. To find out where these guns are, we need to get them up. We need to get them. We're not too far from that. We're not as far from that as a lot of people think. I think a lot of people don't realize the severity of the situation that's been going on lately. I think we're probably, since the civil rights movement, since it was before that, I think we're probably the closest to a civil war that we've ever been since the Civil War, or since, at least in civil rights. And, I don't think a lot of people realize that. I mean, I don't think that we're there yet, don't get me wrong, and, I think we got a long way to go. But I think for some people, I think we're 5 or 10% there already. You get states that they want to withdraw from the Union, You got states that are saying that they don't care what laws the federal government are going to pass. They're not following them. That type of disobedience is not really typical. And you have, gun owners are so passionate, and because we believe so strongly that it defends our freedom a lot of the time, that, a lot of gun owners are willing to die for their guns. I mean, and they're not willing to register them. And, they might be willing to make small compromises, magazine, here or there, deal with little small nuisances, but they're not really willing to make any big sacrifices. And And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think it's like Hickok said. They think that, and he has a very optimistic view of what's going to happen. He's looking at this as, he's been around so long that this is just another cycle. But I think the difference is in modern times with the internet, us gun owners are so in touch with each other. I can go on Facebook and chat with, 50, angry gun owners instantly. As soon as some new news comes out or some new, legislation, and back in the day, the it wasn't that fast. You'd have to hear it maybe on a radio show would be the most instant feedback you'd get, and a lot of the country, they don't really get radio shows like that. Maybe in a magazine you could read letters that people sent in where they're frustrated, but it was much slower. Now we're so close, we get mad, we go and we make a video and we see each other, we feel like we know each other almost. And, the gun community is so much closer now because of the internet and modern technology that we're so much more unified. I don't think that Hickok had a video where he was saying that he's never seen people this riled up about, the gun control. I don't think that there's any less people now that are upset about gun control that, compared to in 1994. I bet you there was, and I was too young at the time, but I bet you a lot of people were upset. The thing was, at that time, you might only know that, your neighbor and the guys at the gun range and maybe the guy at the hardware store, you only know that those are the upset guys. And as far as you know, that's as far as it goes, because there wasn't the mass amount of communication like there is now. Now we all know that we're all pissed. We've all had enough. I think that's what the difference is. They wouldn't want us to register the guns unless they wanted to take them from us eventually, or at least keep that open as an option. I'm not saying that that's what they want to do. I'm just saying they want to keep that open as an option. If we ever do decide we're going to take them, we want to know where they are, where you have them. They use it as an excuse. Well, if it's used in a crime, we want to know who it was registered to. But how often do you find the murder weapon right at the scene of the crime? And even further, when you do find it at the scene of the crime, how often is it actually registered to the person who committed the crime? Hardly ever. The other thing that they're doing is they're restricting our gun rights, but they're not restricting the gun rights of police. And I'm not really an anti-police person by any means. I have been on a couple occasions. I feel mistreated by police, but I don't have any resentment towards them. I've known, on the flip side of that, I've known some police officers I thought were cool people. I thought they were, nice. I have a lot of respect for police, actually. But with that said, I don't think it's a good idea to tell civilians that they can only have 7 rounds in a gun, or they can, what's coming next is they'll restrict calibers. You don't need a .45 to protect yourself. A .380 will protect you. You don't need a .44 Magnum to protect yourself. That's ridiculous. You don't need that. A 9mm will do it. If even then, you don't really need a 9mm. A .22 caliber will do it. But as of right now, they're saying in New York, civilians can only have 7 rounds, but cops, they can have whatever they want. Right? You're shifting the power balance to police. Okay? If you're a person who's really trusting of police, you don't have no problem with that. You're fine with that. But I've had a couple situations where I've really been mistreated by police, and I do believe that probably 95% of police officers are good people. They're just regular people. They're just, sometimes they're just trying to do a job. But in my opinion, there's a small percentage of police officers that are kind of like the power freaks, the controlling types, the jealous types, that they become police officers specifically to get themselves in that position of power, because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like big people, And you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that type of person in any position of power because they seek those positions out because it makes them feel good about their own inadequacies. You know. So when you shift the balance of power, you know, when the police way outgun us, they're allowed to have assault weapons. Quote unquote. I don't even consider them assault weapons, like I was saying earlier. When police are allowed to have, sporting carbines, and we're not. They're allowed to have 30-round magazines. We have to change magazines every 5-10 rounds. They're outgunning us, aren't they? You know, the police are scared of us right now. You might not think so. You might think that's ridiculous. I just got pulled over 2 days ago, and for an inspection sticker. It was my fault. But when the cop pulls me over, he takes his bright ass spotlight, shines it right on my side view mirror so that it reflects right back in my face, so that I can't see him approaching the car. Now, if you don't think that police are scared of us, why do they do that? Why is that like standard procedure? The reason why that's standard procedure is so that I can't see him coming. He has a tactical advantage. My vehicle is lit up. He can see everything I'm doing. He can see every little bit of movement I make. This is so that if I make a move, because he doesn't know if I have a gun or not. He doesn't know if I have a weapon. He doesn't know what I have. So if I make a move, he can see it. He's approaching my vehicle from behind. He's approaching me from behind. He's at a tactical advantage, and that's the way he wants it, because he doesn't know what I have, right? He has to use caution because he doesn't know what I have. He has to treat me with at least a little bit of respect because he doesn't know what I have, right? If we take that away from us, okay, if we put him at a major advantage, it wouldn't affect most police officers. But if it affects 5%, that's way too many. And I think it would probably affect more than that. I think there's probably, I would say maybe 2 out of every 10 police officers have no business being police officers. I would say it's probably that high, maybe a little higher. I think they're mostly good people. But, like I said, any position of power, there's going to be people who sought that position out just to take advantage of the power. Just to get that, that need to control other people in their lives. So what do you think is going to happen when those types of people who, or even a good cop, he's having a bad day and he's just going to make a stupid decision. He's approaching your car now, guns are illegal. He's pretty sure that you're not armed. Is he going to be more respectful of you or less respectful of you? All the guns in the country have been seized from legal gun owners after we registered them, or if we do have anything, he knows it's going to be like a 380 or something like that. Maybe those are legal still at the time. This is all hypothetical, but you think that's going to create a situation where, and forget police officers, let's just say people in positions of authority, you think that's going to make them more respectful of us or less respectful of us? They just use Sandy Hook as an excuse to grab 3 more rounds from us and to force registration on us. It's as simple as that. They take our rights little by little. We can't compromise on legislation because it's been said a zillion times. Like I said, I don't think I'm saying anything profound in this. It's a slippery slope. You say, well, yeah, 30-round magazines are excessive. So they say, okay, well, we're going to limit it to 15. But shootings still happen, crime still happens because it has absolutely nothing to do with crime. As obvious as it is, a lot of people don't see that. And, gun control doesn't have anything to do with crime. Gun control controls guns from good people who actually care if they break the law or not. It doesn't change anything in the criminal element. So you give up, 30-round magazines, and then 10 years from now, you gotta give up 15-round magazines. You gotta give up, I already touched on it, I think a big part of the problem is that we're too far removed from World War II. You know, my generation, you know, you're lucky if your grandfather was even in World War II. Your grandfather probably too young to even have been in World War II. You know, we've had other wars since then. Obviously, Korea, Vietnam, both of the conflicts in Iraq, Afghanistan. But the thing is, none of those wars have had the human atrocity that World War II had. They didn't have, you know, you know, we haven't seen really what the evil in the world can do. You know, people in the past knew it well. You know, this is a cycle. This happens throughout history. You know, something really, really, really terrible happens. Like, I mean, really terrible, like the Holocaust. And then, you know, as generations go on, and the stories aren't passed down so much, and the feelings aren't there anymore, the emotions aren't there anymore, you become complacent, you let your guard down, and then it happens again. And then, you know, those people fight, and they, you know, eventually they win their freedom, and, you know, but there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of death, and there's a lot of sadness, and it's not necessary. I mean, when do we learn from the past? You know, at what point do we learn? You know, that's what I want to know. You know, it's like, I know a lot of good people who, you know, and I'm probably driving them nuts with on my social networking, you know, all of my statuses about, you know, we have to fight gun control, this and that. And a lot of people, they're so far removed from the evil of the world because we haven't seen it in a long time. They don't believe that it's there. They think that, well, we've all learned and we're all good and honest people. That is never going to happen. That is never going to happen. We're never going to all learn and move on to be honest people and good and love each other. You know, that's probably heaven. You know, that's not earth. You know, it's just not going to happen here. You know, we need to protect ourselves. There's only one amendment that protects all the other ones. I mean, and a lot of people, I have a lot of good friends, like I was saying, on my social networking accounts, Facebook, whatever, and I think they're good people, but they're so sick of, I think they're sick of hearing me talk about this, because they feel like I'm, you know, it's almost like I'm crazy, you know, like, they don't think that, they think that they just, you know, want to take 3 more rounds from us, and that's it, and that's all they're going to take, and that's all they want to do, you know. If those same people, a lot of those same people, if the First Amendment was being attacked, they'd be all over it. They would be, you know, posting statuses and everything. You know, they don't realize that's next. You know, this amendment protects that one. They don't believe that. You know, we're so far removed from, like I said, the atrocities of World War II that we kind of think like, you know, nobody's, you know, a lot of people think nobody's really out to get us. You know, that's just nutty people think that. And I'm not saying that the people in power now are out to get us. I think a lot of times they play politics. I think a lot of times you get emotional people who really think that gun control is an answer. Um, you know, they let their emotions get in the way. You know, any rational person can see that, you know, controlling the firearms in the hands of people who never commit crimes, statistically, is not going to have any impact on people who do commit crimes, statistically. It's just not going to happen that way. But they get so emotional, and we feel bad for them, and we want to agree with them. And people, a lot of people, you know, we're too busy to get involved in politics. People don't want to be bothered. They don't want to hear about it. You know, they're going to let whatever legislation get passed that gets passed. You know, maybe they don't support gun control, but they just don't care. They don't want to watch the news. They don't, you know, they don't want to be involved. They don't want to give it any thought. They're too busy in their daily life. They got enough stress as it is going on. And they just don't want to be bothered. I know a lot of people like that. You know, they don't want to hear me talk about it anymore. That's for sure. You know, we need to get back in touch with reality. You know, we will. Whether it be the easy way or the hard way, I hope it's the easy way. I hope that, you know, we come together solidly as a voice and we say, well, you know, we're not going to have this gun control anymore, because it's just the beginning. You know, if they're not scared of us, you know, the government is already dictating to us what we need. You know, obviously, Andrew Cuomo told us we don't need 10 rounds to kill a deer, so he took it away from us. He didn't care what we thought. He just did it. It's done. He did it. Maybe the NRA will try to fight it. I don't know. But he did it. He told us what we need, and then he gave it to us. Okay? That's just the beginning. Once they're not scared of us anymore, once, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize, you really don't need 10 rounds to kill a deer. That's true. You don't need an XM15, a Bushmaster XM15 to kill a deer. But we don't have gun rights to kill deer. We weren't given the Second Amendment so that we could go hunting. You could ban hunting tomorrow, and I don't think that the Constitution is going to defend that one bit. What matters is we have gun rights to protect ourselves from tyranny. And people hear the word tyranny and they're like, there's no tyranny going on in the world anymore today. Well, if you look at a lot of other countries around the world, yes, there is. And even then, people who accept that, reality, they'll say, well, there's no tyranny in the United States. Well, not right now because we have guns. What do you think keeps it that way? Why do you think it is that way? Even still, that the fact that we have guns, and Andrew Cuomo is still telling us what we need. He still told us what we need, and then he gave it to us without our opinion. Didn't matter what we thought. Didn't matter one bit. So, that is happening, that does happen, and it will only get worse. One thing a lot of people don't realize is rifles are important. Semi-automatic rifles are important because, you don't need 10 rounds to kill a deer, but you do need, it'd be a lot harder to fight a tyrannical government without semi-automatic rifles. You can't do it with pistols. You probably could if you had to. But there would be a lot of casualties, a lot more casualties. You need a rifle that, if that ever happened, and it probably never would. We're talking about something that will probably never, ever, ever happen. But we have that right just in case it does. Because there is always that slim, small chance that it might. So, you need a rifle that can almost match the rifles that they'll be using. It would be, with a pistol, you just don't have the distance. You don't have the stopping power. You don't have, if you needed to punch through a car to get a bad guy, a government bad guy, a pistol's not going to give you that. That's to where a rifle will. And they know that. That's why they target, rifles. Think about, the vast majority of crime committed by a firearm is a pistol. So the logical thing, if you really, really believed that gun control will save innocent lives, the logical thing to do would to go after handguns first, because handguns are used in the vast majority of firearm crime. So that would make the biggest effect fastest. Rifles are actually used the least. They're actually used after handguns and after shotguns. Rifles are the last firearm used statistically in crime. Like 2.4 or something like that % of murders are committed by rifles. A very small fraction of murders in the country are committed by rifles. Why do they go after rifles? I thought about it, and I try not to have like a conspiracy theorist type of attitude. But I thought about it, and the only thing I could think of is, well, what would be the best weapon to fight back with? A rifle. If you ever had to fight back, against a tyrannical government, what would be the best weapon? By far, a rifle. By far. A pistol wouldn't even compare. You could probably do alright with a shotgun, but you're not going to get any, real distance with a shotgun. You also don't get the capacities with a shotgun, And any of the shotguns that you do get the capacities with, they're just deemed assault weapons. Anyway, I guess I'll wrap it up. I just want to finish by saying that the consequences of the decisions we make these days, and we're still in control of the government. That's important to know. If we really speak up and get riled up, they'll listen. They'll have to. It's just as simple as that. Um, they make laws and we accept them, but that's our fault. We don't have to. Police officers who enforce these laws are regular people like you and me. You know, they're not like some government drones that just go out there and enforce laws. Just for the hell of it. I mean, these guys are regular people like me and you, and they're doing a job. And they can choose not to enforce these laws, and their bosses can choose not to enforce that. But we have to be together. And I don't think that we're maybe not fed up to the point where we're unified enough to really make a difference. But I hope we get there soon. Because, I can't say whether or not any of this will come back to haunt us, our generation. I don't know. Will anything really drastically, will our freedoms be taken drastically in my lifetime? I'm going to say probably not. But I guarantee you, either in your kids' or your grandkids' lifetime, it will. It will. It has to. I'm a student of history. History repeats itself. It has to. I mean, we can learn from history and change things, but we have to be unified and we have to do it now. And I just think not enough people care. And, so, I just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. I doubt anybody has. This is probably going to get the least views of any video I've ever posted, which says something because I got some that are pretty bad out there. But, I had something to say, and I do feel better now. So, anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.